Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, Happy Cells and Souls. I'm Julie Powers and I am a licensed Zumba instructor and a business partner with the Juice Plus company. And my mission is to inspire healthy living around the world and to let people know that life is better when they're dancing through it. But my expanded mission is to create healthier bodies at the cellular level and more joy at the cellular level. And I believe that our time here on earth is meant to be joyful and happy. And so I want people to live into that because we only get one body. We got to take care of it as best we can. And I want people to know that their inner beings can be filled with joy and light. And so that brings us to the videos on this channel. And so in my lifetime, I've had a lot of really fascinating experiences with some remarkable people. And the people that come into our lives are fantastic, right? We can learn from every single person. Well, our guest today is Robert Berry. And this is someone who I knew about a long time before I met him because he's married to a high school friend of mine. And he just happens to be a very accomplished musician, songwriter, producer. And so, Robert, when I met you officially in person was when you were in Farmington, Missouri, of all places, for a concert with the 3.2 band. And so we can talk about that if we have time at the end. But I want to just kind of sort of jump into this because today's focus is on songwriting and your process of bringing joy and happiness into the world through music. And music means a lot to me because obviously I use a lot of music in my Zumba classes, but music's always been such a huge part of my life, even though I'm not a professional musician, and I even stopped really taking piano lessons when I was a kid. So you worked with bands like Ambrosia and Hush and the Greg Kihn Band, and you worked with Sammy Hagar and Greg Palmer, and who else?
It sounds like I can't keep a job. That's enough.
No, you've got all kinds of stuff going on. Carl Palmer.
I've been lucky.
I think I said it's Keith Emerson and Carl Palmer, and brain pause.
So we're sharing a cold now. So
we are sharing kind of a cold.
State of mind.
Yes. So can you tell me, first of all, back when you were a kid, you were already a songwriter and a musician. And can you kind of walk me through that process when you knew that you were supposed to be in music?
You know, it's actually kind of funny to me because I've started writing a book for my kids, not for the world, for my kids, because I've been super lucky in my life. And I thought, you know what, I have to write down how other people saw things in me that I didn't see in myself even, and sort of mentored me or helped me along, whatever. I just been lucky. But it all started because my mom sang in my dad's band. And she had lost her first baby, a miscarriage. So she wasn't going to tell anybody. And she kept singing with the band, with the second one, which was me, until she was 8 months. And then she told them they couldn't believe she was pregnant. She was so small.
She was 8 months pregnant and nobody knew?
Yeah. No,
oh, wow.
She was a very little lady anyway. And, in those days, the big band, they had a big band, wearing the garments and the stuff, maybe the coach, who knows? But I was in a band before I was born. So through osmosis, or I just learned recently that the ear is the first thing to develop. I think that's true, but I've read it, but I haven't really researched it. And if that is true, well, obviously I was hearing this big band music. I was on stage, my mom was singing. It affected me in the worst of ways. I'm a musician now. Oh my God, run for your life. And so I started piano lessons at 6 years old because my dad had a music store then, and I was expected to take piano lessons. I hated practicing. My mom was the one that really got me to practice and always, make the bargain. Supposed to practice half hour. Well, 20 minutes and your lifesavers or whatever it was, And I got to be very, very good. I did a lot of music teacher recitals, winning awards and different things. Hated every bit of it, but not really, because when I look back, when the neighbor boy had come out over knocking those, hey, you want to come out and play baseball? I say, no, I have to practice my piano. And I would be playing boogie woogie stuff on the side or something, and not just the classical stuff. So I was really hooked into music. At 12 years old, I had my dad's garage and his old tape recorder in the garage, and I was writing and recording things and trying to figure out how, famous bands, the Beatles, whoever was big, how they got their sounds. Really young, I was played keyboards, but I was teaching myself guitar, and there was an old drum set from my dad's band there. I was teaching myself drums, and it's interesting because it wasn't playing the instruments that got me into those instruments. It was trying to make them sound good in the recording so that the
Oh,
songs I was
right.
writing sounded good. So it was a whole different purpose than being good on an instrument. And it makes you figure out the right thing to play and what not to play, kind of. And that's why I wound up being a fairly good musician on all these different instruments. I wrote a song. I can remember the first one that I wanted to play, but when I was 13. I forget the name of it, but I didn't have a girlfriend, and I was right about a girl. I played for my mom. She goes, "Oh, I don't care for that song too much." And too much
So it was
competition
for an
already.
imaginary girl?
Yeah, imaginary girlfriend. I was
Right.
way too shy to have a girlfriend, even barely talk to a girl. I was a super shy kid. And we had talked earlier about when a song got on the radio, let's say, went out to the public, how I felt. I was writing these songs all through high school. My bands would hear them, we'd learn them, but I'd play a couple of high school dances and stuff.
So
Get
wait,
some deep.
were you playing original music at that point, or you were playing covers?
We'd play mostly covers, but we'd slide one in once in a while that sometimes we just make it up on the spot. You
Ah,
know?
fun.
And so I wasn't really getting a lot of feedback on it. But all of a sudden, my band Hush, which was my college band, got a record on the radio, and it was just stunning because everybody we wanted to be and thought we were going to be and dreamed to be, we were there being played next to them. It was only local radio. And then uh,
But
because of that,
what a huge feeling of success. And
yeah,
that was something we talked about before I hit the record button, is when that moment of truth happens, when your song, your baby that you created just for you, even though you hoped that one day it would be out there for everyone, all of a sudden it doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the world.
it,
And so,
that's right.
you
Yeah,
know,
and you go from a process of, like, right now, I'm sitting here with nothing, right? And all of a sudden, in a couple hours, it's something. It started nothing. It was just an
right,
idea, and that's something. Also, now you're hearing it on the radio, and people are going, "Heard your song on the radio," and it does. I think it makes the difference between taking that next step in music and music career, let's say, than for those who had cover bands who just played nightclubs or whatever and never made that step. They
right.
didn't feel that little thing where, oh wow, I have a wider appeal. My circle of influence has like widened. And of course, you're expressing your inner feelings usually when you write a song. And in my case, they were always very positive. I was a guy, even though I played with all these bands and I started very young. When I was 12, I was playing guys that were seniors in high school. And they had pregnant girlfriends doing drugs and everything. I never did any drugs.
Right. I'm not doing
Very,
that. No.
oh no. And I saw it and went, oh, why would I want that? You know, I drink a little bit, but never like really a drinker. It was always focused on my life and my wellness, kind of, and being able to get the next day, say tomorrow, I need to be responsible to somebody for something, usually music, and I want to be 100% me, ready to go. So that was all part of this. Now on the radio, going, wow, yeah, I'm being me is being recognized, and I got to keep going with this.
Right,
It's
because if
empowering.
you're the best version of you and the healthiest version of you, you have more to give. And so that's also what this channel is about as well. So I'm really glad to hear that you recognized that taking care of yourself and being responsible for yourself allowed you to be a better you and to give more to the world at large. So that's
My
amazing.
my guys would go out to parties after we played, even in Hush, who was a big band in the Bay Area here. They go out to parties. And if I didn't go down to the recording studio, because during the set I had an idea for a song, I went home and went to bed because I knew I had to be up the next morning and I had a recording session and I wanted to make sure I was the best I could be.
Right.
Those guidelines, I mean, they were self set, I guess, but my goal was to be 110% ready to be me for whoever wanted what I did. And I had no ego involved in that because I could, in the studio, do a little of this, a little of that, whatever they wanted. It wasn't like, oh, here, I'm going to do my best work. It was like, hey, I'm capable of doing things. What do you want to accomplish? And I
Right.
always felt in control of that. That was a good thing for me.
That's great. So I have a question. Whenever you're writing a song, do you first hear in the back of your mind, or is it something deep in your heart or your gut? Is it a rhythm, or is it a melody, or is it just a feeling, or is it the lyrics that come first, or is it just a mishmash of it just depends on the day and the time?
Yeah, it's funny for me. It happens all those ways, and I play a lot of instruments, and
Right.
most of my business since, I mean, even in high school, I was playing all the instruments on people's songs. They give me their song, and they can't afford to go to the studio, so at home I'd record all these instruments that I learned in my dad's garage. And so now when I sit down, if I go, oh, it'd be nice to have a song with the bass thing that inspires me, some lyrics come out, or God, I really like the groove of that beat. It all comes together in a day. I can write a song and finish it.
Wow.
Recording. I mean, I don't do that all the time because I want to sit back and think about it, but I'm capable of doing that because it all happens at the same time.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I get it because unfortunately I can't process anything like that because I am not a gifted musician. But I hear a song that I'm like, "Ooh, I want to do a dance to that in my Zumba class." And sometimes I just have to do it. I have to
Yeah,
do the choreography that day or
yeah,
it's gone. And it's just there. Like you can see it in your mind what you're supposed to be doing. And
yeah,
so I'm guessing it's the same kind of thing. It's like you feel it and there's got to be a melody that goes like this. There's got to be, this little thing that
yeah.
happens over here with the guitar. And uh,
Inspiration.
I don't even know the terminology to use because I'm so far from being a professional musician. I don't
But
even.
but it's inspirations. I mean, you might see someone on America's Got Talent do a dance move. You go, I gotta put that in. Or you might hear the rhythm of some machine. You go, oh, what a great beat, a wonderful song, whatever.
Right.
Something inspires you to do this. And then, of course, every day our life has a different experience of some kind. Some days are sad, some days are happy, some days you're just happy that nothing happened, right? But every day is different. And a lot of times when I'm producing an album for a client, I'll say, I don't want to do like you do in 12 songs, 12 days in a row. Let's do one song every week because every week I feel different and you feel different. And it will make something that is this timestamp of this point of your life into this album. And every day the influences are coming through. We don't know how, why, or when, but
Right.
it affects our life.
But to have that ability to take that moment and turn it into something that's recorded forever for other people to enjoy. When did you first? I know you said that when you had that very first song come on the radio and people said, "I heard your song. I heard your song." I know you felt very happy and very excited about that.
Yeah.
But when was the first time? Do you remember the first time that you knew that what you had created really did fill those people up with happiness and joy? Was there a moment that you're like, yeah, I could see it on their faces, or I could hear it in their voices, or
There was two kind of opposite situations. I'll start with the one I was playing with Keith Emerson and Carl Palmer when those guys were extremely famous, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, ELP, and had lots of success with Greg Lake's folk songs in the beginning. Lucky Man, they were all kind of acoustic folk songs. They weren't rock and drums and keyboards so much like ELP was known for. And we had a song that I wrote called Talking About. It got to be number 9 in the charts. We were on tour. And every time we go on a radio station, and this narrows it down, but it's so important to me that program directors always say, your song sounds so good on our station. And the people, the calls we get, I'm like, this is the business saying this. The radio, the guy
right?
that runs the station, everywhere we went, it was late 80s. Things were changing to sort of grunge music of the 90s. And all that guitar stuff on the radio and stuff, they were loving it, but it didn't especially sound as good as the 80s stuff, which everybody still loves. 80s stuff. You have Def
Oh,
Leppard,
it's
you know.
absolutely the best music ever.
It sonically has all kinds of different sounds, all kinds of things going on. And that was really a thrill. Wow, that radio is going, you guys got something. You have a sound. You know, go back, you know, 15 years before, maybe it wasn't that, it was 10 years before that. And Hush is touring off a record we have. And we're, you know, big fish here, or small fish in a big pond. And we're out there now, little fish. And we're in Texas. And we're playing a concert. And we go to the radio station for a Jerry Lewis telethon, but disabled kids. It helps them. He did great work. And the DJ said, well, the song is called Rock and Roll Babies. He goes, yeah, that song Rock and Roll Babies really hit me. You know, how would you like to be one of these poor disabled kids with not a chance in the world to do anything? And I went, what a terrible thing to say, right?
Right.
I'm Mr. Positive. I'm like, whoa, that was the most. I said, well, you know, everybody has their calling in life. That's what Rock and Roll Babies is about. I'm making this up. It's coming out of my mouth, but I'm going, oh my God, what did he just say? And I think, you know, rock and roll babies and rock and roll, it moves us all in some way. It doesn't matter if you're disabled, if you're running a marathon, whatever. Rock and roll's for everybody. Everybody can enjoy it.
Absolutely.
And it just kind
Absolutely.
of shut them down, you know. And it, it was funny. I don't know how to explain it, but I felt empowered by being able to say, look, the music's for everybody. It brings love and joy, and it doesn't matter who you are, what you do.
Oh, absolutely. And I will tell you this, my daughter was actually in a wheelchair. She was very disabled from the
Mm,
time she was 3 months old until she passed away at 8.5 years old. And she
wow.
loved music. And I could tell when music was on, even though she couldn't do anything for herself. So
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying. It doesn't matter if somebody is confined to a wheelchair or
Yeah.
even if they can't hear. I'm always amazed at people who have hearing issues that they can still enjoy music as much as they can because as we know, everything is vibration, everything is energy. And when people are hearing through just the vibration, they can feel the difference in the music. So, uh,
Yeah.
you know,
My
it's
first my first band that I played in at 12, actually it was my second band. The first one lasted about 3 months, but it was called the 4th Street Exit. And these were the guys that were juniors and seniors in high school. And the bass player's mom was this really tough Jewish woman. And most managers that are good are Jewish. And there's nothing I'm saying bad about that. It's just the business. Okay.
just is what it
and
is, right?
and she said, you guys, we played every weekend at junior high and high school. So every weekend I was 12 years old making $50. You know, I was like, whoa, that's music business pretty
Hey,
good.
that's big
You
money
know,
for a 12-year-old.
it was really good. And she goes, but you're lucky to be able to do this. I'm getting you these gigs and stuff. You're going to play at Happy Hollow, which was a little theme park, once a month for the disabled children's. It's not a benefit. It was a dance. It was just a dance they had. And it was not one particular disability. It was everybody. And some were like in beds. The parents would bring them in a bed to hear this band, to see this entertainment. Some in wheelchairs, some were canes. Someone would just, you know, sort of sit and watch. At first, it was very difficult for me at 12 years old, thinking, oh, whoa, what am I going to do? You know, kids drooling on the floor. I think it took about 3 of those shows to me that empowered me so much because the joy, like anybody else, that those kids were getting, I've seen a band play, and we were the band. We were doing this, you know. No other bands in town were doing this. This manager, this mom, who actually managed some fighters or something in New York when she was young, she was tough, um, gave us this gift of you need to give back. At 12 years old, I mean,
Right.
that's what I mean, how
That's
lucky I've been. So lucky, you know, people
wow.
influence me in certain ways.
That's really a fabulous experience to be able to have that at such an early age to realize too and to know that you made a difference in those kids' lives that day. At that moment, you were filling up their lives with joy and probably because it was this like a group home or something or a
No, it was actually like it wasn't a school cafeteria, but it was like that. Happy Hollow was a theme park, but it had a little zoo, a petting
Okay,
zoo and
so they
stuff.
brought everybody in. So
Yeah,
yeah, so think about all these kids that wouldn't have that experience if you hadn't provided that. So I would say that that is one of the most joyful things that I can ever think of. Coming from a mom who had a daughter in a wheelchair and required 24-hour medical care. I would have
yeah,
loved to be able to take her somewhere and have a real band
Yeah,
play for her.
because it
What?
worked for the parents too.
Yeah, yeah, even if they were 12-year-olds, that's okay,
Right, yeah.
that's great. So that's amazing. So we have just a couple minutes left. Um, I know you said we could talk for hours and hours
I
probably, and I'd
know.
love to, but, can you think of one other time in your life I know that you've done a lot of songwriting, you produce a lot of albums now, you've got your studio to help other songwriters and musicians get what they want out there into the world. Where would you say right now most of your joy comes from, besides your dear wife, who I love dearly?
You know,
Where does most of your joy come from in the music industry?
she has changed my life because she's so supportive and so positive, and I'm that kind of person. And to find the equal positive kind of match is, I don't know if it's rare, but it's really. And I've always been a happy guy. I've always been driven by music. I've always done all of it. I even built guitars and speaker cabinets. I had to do everything. The studio, performing live. It's still the same way. The studio every day, the smaller the client, the less they know, the more I enjoy it. I like giving what I've learned working with like Sammy Hagar, one of the most famous guys in music. Um, I like giving that to people that haven't experienced that yet so they can step up the next step on the road kind
Right,
of.
right.
But I'm going to Europe to tour this year, July, playing Germany for the first time, Netherlands, going to Italy,
That's
um,
very exciting. And
performing live.
this is with the 3.2 band?
3.2. Yes, I'm taking that Andrew Collier guy.
Yes,
My
yes, I'm
boy, he's
so
costing
proud
me
of him. I'm so happy for him, and
costing me a lot of money.
you know what, though? Remember, giving back is good, and we can't take it with us. As much as
That's
we
right.
can amass while we're here on Earth, it doesn't really matter in the end because everybody should find that happiness within, and it doesn't matter what any person, anything, any place. If we're not happy inside our own skin, then what does it matter, right?
Well, I've said I've been lucky, and I totally believe what you're saying, and I agree with it. But how did I get so lucky to meet the best mate a guy could ever have and the best keyboard player, all from Farmington? How
I,
did that happen?
it was meant to be. It was meant to
That's
be.
it.
Yes,
And
yes,
good people, positive people. You've talked to Andrew on your show.
yes.
He's amazing, and um, I'm really a very lucky guy. And I think a lot of it comes from me wanting to make sure that I can give 110% tomorrow. I'm
Right.
I'm ready for today, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
make
you
sure
know
I'm ready
what,
for
Robert?
tomorrow.
I don't think it's luck. I really don't think it's
Uh,
luck because that would mean that it's purely chance, and it's
mm,
not. It's you've done the work. You were responsible to yourself and
yeah,
your wellness, and it just had to be. It just had to be. It was not luck. It was just supposed to be that way.
I
So,
just need to stop eating ice cream. That's all.
okay, whatever. We'll get into another discussion
Yeah,
about
right.
ice cream later.
The
All
diet.
right. Well, you know what? I'm going to turn the recording off, and I just want to thank you so much for being part of this conversation. And I know that at some point, somebody's going to see this conversation and they're going to be inspired to bring their own music into the world and make a difference.
That's fantastic. I hope so.